Now let's turn our attention to responding to requests. Here are 4 possible responses that directly address the request, and if used, will set up for a strong commitment. Any other responses are less efficient and may be misleading, and you'll make a clear it'll make a clear commitment less likely. The first one is yes. It's a commitment. It essentially means I will do exactly what you asked. So in that case, if you have a clear and complete request that's been made of you, and you say yes, you're saying, yeah, I'll do exactly that. It's very simple and straightforward. If the request isn't clear, of course, and you respond with a yes, you're saying to the requester or customer that you'll do exactly what they've asked, which probably includes what's in their mind that they haven't said. In other words, if there's missing information, they're still going to hold you accountable for it, even though it's not something that they included in the request. So making sure that you have all that information, who the customer really is, are you the right performer, what's the action, what are the conditions of satisfaction, and when do they want it by. And then you say yes, and you're saying I'll do exactly that. The second response is no. It's a decline. No, I can't or won't do what you asked. No means exactly that. You cannot or will not commit to fulfilling the request. This frees the requester to go find someone else who can do what they want. Of course, in the work setting, saying no is often not perceived as a viable option, especially if the request is from your boss or from a senior manager in your company. Even saying no to colleagues can be a sign that you are not a team player in some company cultures. But if you can't say no, what is the value of your yes? When people feel they can't say no, even when they don't think they can fulfill the request completely or on time or both, they essentially say yes knowing it's a promise that they won't be able to keep. This way of operating over time can lead to a number of problems. Missed deadlines, lost trust, lost customers, resentment, resignation, even outright failure. And believe me, I've seen all of these things happen. So what do? If yes is not real, if you can't really say yes to this request, but no isn't a good option career-wise, an option that can work in most cases is to make a counteroffer. This is simply telling it like it is. I can't do everything you're asking, but I can do this much. Or I can't have it to you by Wednesday, but I could by Thursday. Or I can't have it by Wednesday unless I push this other project back 2 days. Is that acceptable to you, since that's something else that you've asked me to do? So a counteroffer sets up a negotiation out of which can come a realistic commitment. So it's an opportunity to negotiate what you can and will do for the customer. And of course, just like what we talked about before, a complete request, once you arrive at something that you're going to commit to, it needs to have all of that information. It needs to have who's my customer, am I the right person to do this as the performer, what is the action that I am going to do, what conditions of satisfaction am I going to meet, and what is the deadline that I'm going to have this done by. Finally, there's one more possibility, and that is what's sometimes called a commit to commit. I need to check with someone else. I need to look at my calendar. I need to I need to check before I can commit to what you ask. I will let you know by. So imagine you've made a request of me, and I don't have enough information to be able to say your request is complete, it's clear, and I still don't have the information I know will allow me to make a commitment or even a realistic counteroffer. So I have to say, hey, I need to check this out before I can do this. But I will get back to you in 10 minutes or an hour or by 4 o'clock this afternoon. Will that work? For people who tend to automatically say yes to any request, and those of you who are listening know who you are, this is a good strategy for being able to step back and take a moment to think, can I really do this? Simply saying, I need to check my calendar first, or I need to check and talk with, or something. Just say, I need to, and I'll get back to you, is a good way of giving yourself a moment of breathing space so you can actually think through and say, should I say yes? Can I say yes? Or is this going to be saying yes to something that will just put me over the top? And so out of the response now comes a commitment. First you have a complete request. That's the starting point. When it contains all the information the performer needs to know, what the customer wants, including conditions of satisfaction and by when they need it, then the intended performer can respond realistically. The response the performer makes sets the stage for a specific commitment. Saying yes or I will is in itself the commitment. As we said before, it means I'll do exactly what you're asking. Saying no is also a kind of commitment. You're committing not to do what the customer has asked. Have you ever had a situation where you asked someone to do something and they said they couldn't or wouldn't? So you went to someone else who said yes, only to find out that the first person has also done it, which can cause confusion and annoyance and all sorts of problems. So if you say no, stick to it. Unlike yes or no, a counteroffer, as we've said, should lead to a negotiation. The result of the negotiation should either be a specific commitment to an action or set of actions with conditions of satisfaction and a specific deadline, or it should lead to a decline. So you may make a counteroffer that isn't going to work for the customer. So at that point, the thing to do is to say no. And then the customer can go off and find another performer, hopefully. Or figure something else out. Maybe they change their conditions of satisfaction because they just can't get it done any other way. A commit-to-commit response should eventually also result in a yes, a no, or a counter-offer and negotiation. A commitment is a promise to deliver. You are promising to do something that will result in the customer's request being fulfilled. So let's start another short exercise focused on requests you make and the responses you get. Think back over the past 2 or 3 weeks at your work and answer the questions on this slide. Who do you most often make requests of? Who are the top people you usually ask to do things? What kinds of things do you most often ask for? What kinds of responses do you typically get from the people you make requests of? That is, do they answer yes, no, or make a counteroffer or commit to commit? Or do you get other responses like maybe, or I'll try, or I'll let you know, with no time when they'll actually get back to you to let you know? Do all the people you make requests of usually fulfill the commitments they make? Or do some more often fail to fulfill? And For those who often do not fulfill the commitments they make, how do they fail? Do they miss the due date? Do they fail to meet your conditions of satisfaction? Or is it something else? If you want to create a little matrix like this for yourself, you can. It's particularly useful if you know that many of the commitments people make to you are only partially fulfilled or not fulfilled at all. A matrix like this will help you recognize possible patterns. In this example, for instance, this customer is already seeing that she tends to leave off due dates, and that may be why she's not getting things when she wants them. So we've talked about requests. Let's talk about offers, which is sort of the other side of the coin. We make offers to take action as well as making requests for someone else to take action. So we make offers to do work of some kind. I can research that for you. I'll take this over to the lab if you want. Would you like me to talk to her about this? A complete offer should include the same information as a complete request. The difference is that in this case, if you're making the offer, you're the performer, and you get to set the terms of the offer you make. The customer can negotiate for something different, but the performer can also decline to change the terms of his offer. And here's something really important to understand. When the customer accepts an offer, it becomes a commitment as far as he or she is concerned. Some people think of offers as something they can cancel on their own unilaterally without any repercussions. But from the customer's perspective, that's not the case. They see that once they accept that offer, it becomes a commitment to them that you've made to them. In the examples, by the way, that I made earlier, I can research that for you. I'll take this over to the lab, whatever. There's a lot of missing information. If it isn't filled in before the customer accepts, there could well be some disappointments down the line. More complete versions of these offers might sound like this. I can research that for you. I'll get a printout of the results to you by the end of the day. I'll take this over to the lab if you want. I'm going there right now. Who should I give it to? Would you like me to talk to her about this? I have a meeting with her tomorrow morning. I'll make sure she understands what you just explained to me. People who like to feel helpful, please take note. It is easy to get swamped by making more offers than you can fulfill. Just like people who tend to respond with an automatic yes to any request, some people make offers right, left, and center without thinking about it. So remembering the commitments the commitments that result from the offers that you make need to be added to the commitments you make as the result of requests others have made of you that you've agreed to. I've worked with plenty of overworked, overwhelmed, stressed out mid-level managers who can trace much of their overload to making offers they didn't need to make and saddling themselves with more work that they can realistically do. You can be a star performer by taking on lots of work. And some people do. And if they manage it well, they truly are star performers. But when too many things fall between the cracks because you've taken on too much, your star can fall pretty rapidly. So managing it is an important piece of that process.